when the sun comes back, we have the ultraviolet B rays, natural. Natural. So that's an example. I would do just that. And it's good food, diet, exercise, the basics. One thing about the next question is, before I do the next question, I just want to say about the pillars of healing. If I've learned anything, a lot of people want to go off and take this nutrient, take that, do this, do that. And I try to get people back to the fundamentals of health. And it has to be a good food plan, enzyme-rich, live foods, and as many natural foods as possible. You can't get away from that factor. And it's very important to learn blood sugar stabilization, the importance of therapeutic fats and proteins in the diet, which this country has really tried to scare people away from cholesterol, fat, the word saturated, which I think is so misguided. And so a good food plan, exercise, and not just cardio, but keeping the bones strong through resistance. It's crucial, and as you get older, some exercise that helps with balance too. So not getting away from that. Nutrients. Absolutely, nutrients are a competitive advantage. I'm telling you, we live in a time, 21st century, where the technology with all these nutrients is fantastic if you know how to use them. Well, you can really have a tremendous influence on preventing a lot of diseases, keeping yourself strong, getting your mind better. I mean, one thing on my mom was basically diagnosed as she went in the hospital with dementia. As we got her better and cleared the fog with good nutrients, the benefits of orthomolecular nutrients, she was no longer dementia. When they did in rehab, they had to do all these games, like Trivial Pursuit, and they bring in all the people in rehab. She was the oldest person in. She beat out everybody younger than her. Her brain came back, her wittiness came back, her sharpness came back, and I've seen this time and time again. If someone says terminal, if someone says you're dementia, you can bring it back. Definitely. So yeah, just on the vitamins, yeah. So it depends. I'd have to talk to you because there are things that I really believe in. And there are things that I know what the top anti-aging scientists in America are doing. What? They're all out at the University of California, Berkeley, the Packard Laboratory. Many come from the National Institute of Health, Institute of Aging, and they're all out there in their 70s and 80s working full-time. I know their regimens. I also went to visit Jack LaLanne and spent time with Jack LaLanne, one of my heroes, and got all of his secrets. He nearly killed me because he said, "Hey, you whippersnapper." He wanted to put me in his cold swimming pool and go 2 hours, and he kept it at 58 degrees. And then he did 2 hours weights a day. So I learned from Jack, and a little story on Jack. I was so intimidated with him, I wanted to meet him all my life, and I went out to California. Friends of mine set up a meeting. And I was so, I've seen him since I was a little boy, and he's little black and white stuff and colors. And he gave me such a pep talk, what you can do and what the potential is if you really watch your diet, nutrients, exercise, what the human potential is.
He's terrific.
He died 2 years ago, and at 96, and he shouldn't have been dead. He went in for an optional, he was convinced, an optional valve change of something, and he picked up pneumonia in the hospital, January, February, probably was D deficient, no one checked it, and lingered with pneumonia and died. And if I was there, he'd be alive. I believe that. So what he did for me, just to finish this little anecdotal story, I was so motivated, at the same time intimidated by him. I was out with my friends the next day, and we're in Northern California, and I said, well, Jack's out there swimming in his pool, cold water. I'm going to go out in the ocean. And I was out there, cold water, working away, and of course the sun's shining, but it's, temperatures in the 50s. Half hour goes by, and I said, oh, this feels great. So I got out of the water, and my legs were really numb. I said, I can't show. I was thinking of Jack. He might be watching me. I knew he was, 150 miles away. I said, I got to really be tough. And so I started walking, and pretty soon I said, oh my God, I'm getting dizzy. And I sat down, smiled, and then a nausea started coming over me, and I passed out. It was hypothermia, hyperperfusion stroke. So I was out for 20 minutes. People were going to call 911, but I woke up and I was fine. Had a headache. And but it was a real motivation. I said, you can't keep up with Jack. Don't try to, no matter what. But he showed what the human potential is. And not enough people are exercising, keep their bones strong, things like that. So I'm sorry, there are a few other questions. This lady back here.
I'm interested in your father. Were you able to help your father with his terminal cancer?
That's a great question. Well, did I help my father with terminal cancer? Well, the truth is, before I came home from South Africa, just to give you the full story, he had had colon cancer surgery at St. Rafe's Hospital, Father McGivney, whatever center. And I didn't know about it. My dad was this, military, don't want to bother my son. He's starting a new career in South Africa. He's going to have to leave if I tell him about it. So I didn't even know he had colon cancer. It was weeks and months later, my sister called me up in Durban, South Africa, and she said, "Oh, we didn't want to bother you or worry you." I'm like the oldest son in the family. My dad and I have the same name. I said, "You can't, that's not right." So, well, everything's fine, everything's okay. So he said, "No, nothing to worry about, they got it all." And I wasn't really knowledgeable at the time where I could question anything. So, obviously the stress of my mom, everything going on, seeing my mom's life, wither away, must have brought out resident cancer in his body and exploded it. And it was in his brain, liver, lungs. Took him to the oncologist and, chemo. And I really questioned it, but I couldn't question it enough. I didn't feel I had the confidence to question my dad's decision. I said, I'll try to get vitamins and nutrients, but I didn't have the knowledge at the time about cancer enough. I do now. And many years later, I've studied extensively. And I deal with stage 4 cancer, triple negative breast cancer, all that kind of stuff. But, and successfully for the most part. People are doing well, naturally, if they so choose. But so, my dad, I did the best I could for him. But eventually, there was one thing, I was able to get him hydrazine sulfate, if you know that. Some of you may know that, developed by Dr. Joseph Gold. He certified John Glenn to go into space. He's up at Syracuse Cancer Center. It's a really wonderful nutrient that prevents cachexia. My dad had 48 hours. There was a point with my dad that a priest came in to give him the last rites at our home. He was that sick and that ill. And I kept looking at hydrazine sulfate, which blocks a mechanism of how cancer cells use waste products to produce more glucose and then thrive. And so I was able to get that in Canada for him. 10 days from being given last rites, he was on a treadmill, working out. The priest came back just to check out. He's like, "Oh, Dad's there." He was weak, but he's doing the treadmill. I just gave him his last rites 10 days ago. So it made a tremendous effect, actually, temporarily. It gave him an extra 6 months of slowing down the process. But I didn't have enough knowledge at the time. Since then, I've made 9 trips on my own to Mexico, or three times down there, evaluating all the clinics, alternative therapies, to Germany, Clinique St. George, things like that, just to understand what's going on around the world, what's available, and what are the protocols. Nicholas Gonzalez, I know, and if many of you know, the holistic oncologist, Donald Kelly, all that stuff. Because you, ladies.
I'm just curious what you know about Easiac tea.
Say it again,
Easiac tea. E-S-S-I or S-E-A.
Oh, Esiac. Oh, yeah. I tried using that on my dad, too, and you have the stories of the guy who physician for John Kennedy, and Rene Coste, the Indian tribe. So, yeah, I have used that. I can't say that it's any miracle worker. It certainly didn't, I can't really evaluate. Some people think they benefit, but it's really hard to say sometimes. The essence of nutritional medicine, naturopathic medicine, it's unlike allopathic medicine where you use one nutrient. You're looking for the magic bullet. Naturopathic medicine works like a symphony. And a practitioner has to be a conductor. You have to know what music you're playing, what the application is, and then put all different nutrients together that are synergistic. And half of it is artistic. It really is intuition. You just have to have a feel for it. And the other is science, and you try to get it right. And the good thing is you can always do trial and error. Trial and error and add things. Because basically, in all the years I've been involved, as a lay person, where I was my own test tube, I tried everything, dosages, just to know about this stuff. I've never seen anybody get sick on naturopathic medicine, ever. And there are 66 toxology centers in America, 66, that track this. In the last 30 years, there's not one incidence of any kind of deaths from vitamins, minerals, enzymes, or any of this stuff. Not one. Yet, according to the Journal of American Medical Association, we lose over 100,000 people a year for properly prescribed prescription drugs. That's like a jumbo jet going down every day of the year. Boom. Oh, but watch that vitamin. You know, you hear that? What? Oh, be careful of that herb. Watch out. You better not take that herb. And meanwhile, here comes the chemo. You know. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any effect with Lyme disease?
I haven't worked with Lyme disease a lot. I usually I work with people who do a lot of hyperbaric oxygen therapy for it, high pressurized oxygen, which I find to be very successful and very helpful. I've been involved with a lot of hyperbaric. In fact, I even took my mother to the Whitaker Wellness Institute, which some of you know Julian Whitaker. Anybody know Julian Whitaker? Yeah, I went out there and they gave, this was years ago, they gave me a job offer. They said, do you want to be our head nutritionist? Which would have been a great job, but my mom didn't want to, she wanted to stay close to her, you know, Connecticut, so I would have loved to have worked there. But I saw a lot of people using the hyperbaric out there with success. And also you can, you know, hydrogen peroxide. You know, you can drink hydrogen peroxide. There's a great product called that I use all the time called Oxygen, Oxydgen, cherry berry flavor. You're actually bringing really therapeutic hydrogen peroxide into your body. So aside from that, I mean, it's just you do best, you know.
Well, I don't have it.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one if you've had it for a long time. I know we have, just speaking to her.
A friend, my cousin's friend, her husband was cured with the Rife machine.
Yes, people use the Rife machine. That's it's called the Rife machine. Some of you know about it. It's different frequencies that bacteria live on. Just like elephants can hear each other 20 miles away on different frequencies, well, they believe bacteria, certain bacteriums can communicate on different frequencies. So you adjust the frequency, you can kill that bacterium. It's really a fascinating technology, but I've never used it. Yes, sir.
Have you had any experience with chlorine dioxide?
You mean using it? No. No. And chlorine dioxide? No, I have not, sir.
What was the question?
It's like
Have I had experience using chlorine
it's another
dioxide?
MMS.
Just removing.
It's another form of
MMS, it's
oxidative
called.
medicine.
And oh, okay. So yeah, it's in the same family then. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you take zinc with other supplements? Does it have a negative effect? Does it lessen the potency of other supplements? You take it together with other supplements.
Well, usually I try to get people on a good multivitamin. A good multivitamin. By the way, when I asked the pharmacist at Yale during, with my mom there, I said, do you have multivitamins in this hospital on the formulary? He said, yeah, we got multivitamins, I'll bring one. I'd like to see it, I said. So he brought the multivitamin. It only had 4 nutrients in it. 4 things. And they were microscopic. I was so stunned and shocked. I mean, I'm still shocked to this day. I couldn't believe it. They said, yeah, we have a good one here. Yeah, so multivitamin, I mean, I start with the multivitamin. I try to combine a good multivitamin taken twice a day. It's really good protection. So you're not trying to,
No, I thought I read somewhere something where zinc lessens the potency of other supplements when it's taken with other supplements.
I've never had a problem with it. You can always read those, and perhaps there's some truth to it, but you still need it, and it's fine. Every good, high-quality scientist subscribes to a good multivitamin, and there's some good ones out there.
Which ones?
If you want specifics and things like that, you have my email. In that respect, I use Designs for Health, Life Extension. It depends on a person's budget. If you're really in trouble, Life Extension Foundation probably makes the best multivitamin in the world by far.
Who is that?
Life Extension Foundation makes the most potent, comprehensive multivitamin. Fruits, vegetables, all kinds of things. By the way, I just want you to know, we're going to do something for you besides my talking today. I have a good, we're going to still take the questions, but I want you to know I have someone here, Mario Scremente, who is going to talk with me on a case study for you, rheumatoid arthritis. One of the worst conditions of rheumatoid arthritis that he was faced with. And in 5 or 6 weeks, almost not being able to get out of bed, tie his shoes, severe pain. 5, 6 weeks later, he's doing 20 minutes on a treadmill. Drug-free, no methotrexate, no prednisone. So I just want you to know that's coming up for any of you, and he's going to talk about it. So next question, please. There are a few. Yes, sir.
Hydrogen sulfate that you mentioned.
Yes.
You're aware that Dr. Joseph Gold,
That's what I mentioned, Syracuse.
yeah, and he started out with rocket fuel and then got interested in how the rocket fuel works on cancer patients. Those people who are in the know about cancer know that about 43% of the cancer patients actually die from starvation.
Cachexia, yeah.
And the hydrogen sulfate prevents that.
Inhibits is the proper word, because I've used it a number of times. It inhibits cancer cells from converting lactic acid into
Now,
glucose.
Dr. Gold
And I've watched it personally since I did it on my father. And it was remarkable,
Yeah,
the turnaround in a few days.
he's a PhD and an MD, and he worked.
I've been on a radio show with him, by the
Yeah.
way. So, I know him.
Yeah, well, the only reason I mention it is because any cancer patient who is losing a ton of weight.
You're not
should
going
be
to get
on
any of that advice
hydrogen
from any of the
sulfate.
traditional oncology centers throughout America, period.
And he's right up in
so-
Massachusetts. He could have made $1
He's
million.
in, he's in Syracuse.
Yeah, and it's all, he gives his services free, and,
You have to be, if you're dealing with the hydrazine sulfate, trying to get a source for it, you really have to go online. You can probably get it from Canada. The Canadian companies will give you a protocol. Yes, ma'am?
There are drawbacks to that drug. What are they, do you know?
The drawback is, there are no drawbacks. It's just it doesn't work well if you're on morphine-type products. They contraindicate it. And what are called tyramine foods, it's amino acid with certain fermented foods, and things of that nature.
We had a speaker here on hydrogen sulfate
Yeah.
Back in the 70s. I forget
okay.
what year it was. Dr.
Wonderful.
Dr. Dean Burke from the National Cancer Institute.
Yeah, I mean, it was the former head of the Yale Cancer, DeVito, used to make fun of it and said, "Oh, all it does is help your quality of life. That's no big deal." That's no big deal. We're dealing with the big stuff, the big chemo stuff. We're the big boys. That quality of life stuff is just, hey.
Back in the 70s, it was about the price of a bottle of aspirin.
Yeah.
The main thing against it is the big boys that control all the money.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Let's go. You got the hydrogen story. There are a few more questions that we're going to go into. Just a little case study. We're not going to take long, but I just want to give you an example, right here in this room, how we took a situation that was dire and turned it around in just a matter of weeks, and how we did it, and the nutraceutical protocol. So we're going to take just a few more questions because I don't want to keep everybody here all day. Okay. All the way at 1, 2, 3. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that doctor,
Patrick.
that take the spoons of
Glutamine.
just clarify the amount.
L-glutamine. You can go right to the health food store, or better yet, if you want to save money, go to vitacost.com, VITACOST, vitacost.com. You'll save yourself 50%. And buy the glutamine in a powder, and just take a teaspoon a day. You put a little teaspoon in the morning in your water, lukewarm, and throw it down. It's tasteless. If you do it before you go to bed, it'll raise your human growth hormone overnight. Yes, yes, ma'am. Joseph Gold. Joseph Gold. You can go online and learn all about him, and there's plenty of studies in Russia, UCLA, all around the world on hydrazine sulfate. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned your 6-year-old daughter taking vitamin D. How much?
Usually it averages, now that the sun is starting to recede, ultraviolet B rays, as we move into the fall season, closer to November, 2,000 units a day. and drops, just a couple drops. And if I miss a day, then next day I'll do 4,000. Yeah.
What's your website?
It's on all the handouts. It's on all the handouts.
Nutrascience USA.
NutrascienceUSA.net. NutrascienceUSA.net. There's a newsletter on it, things like that. And everybody diabetes, I have a nice video on diabetes on it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, if I'm squinting a little, I don't have my glasses on for distance, so I apologize. Yes, sir.
Or do you endorse getting vitamins from juicy raw vegetables and fruits?
Did you hear the question? Do I endorse?
Would it be cheaper and more fast and effective to get the vitamins needed from raw vegetables and fruits? And I've read a book called...
I'm all for that. But you're not going to get vitamin D from, you're not going to get high doses of coenzyme Q10, so it depends. Everything in natural medicine depends on the situation. Yes, you have live enzyme, and in any cancer clinic, Gerson Institute, places like that, they're giving live enzyme, juicing foods. It's really good. You get them right in, it's like an IV. And those are sick patients. But you know, there are a lot of nutrients. You just magnesium. You got to juice a lot of nuts. And I don't mean the ones that you eat. I don't mean, the allopathic nuts, but I mean, yes.
Just recently, a doctor formulated a five-price product that restores superoxide dismutase and glutathione. It's called Fernanda. Have you heard about it?
Well, look, it's just another product that raises glutathione, superoxide dismutase. And let me give you just a little thing on this word glutathione. I'm going to spell it for those of you who don't know it, because it's something, any illness, any disease, any health situation, just feel glutathione, Crohn's disease, glutathione, MS, glutathione, whatever it might be, cancer. Do vitamin D with that too, and you'll get a lot of information. But it's spelled G-L-U-T. G-L-U-T-A-T-H-I-O-N-E, glutathione. And I'm going to tell you right now what are the superstars that raise glutathione in your body naturally. Because if you buy it and you take it directly, it's really questionable as to whether it absorbs. It can be disintegrated in your stomach acid. But the superstars are the one I talked about, N-acetylcysteine, N-acetyl, A-C-E-T-Y-L, cysteine, C-Y-S-T-E-I-N-E. Alpha-lipoic acid, many of you know that. I recommend that to a lot of people if you like to can your cells. I tell people if I die tomorrow, don't forget that nutrient, alpha-lipoic acid. It's fantastic to take as a preventive. Selenium, I mentioned selenium before. Remarkable. Milk thistle, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin E, glutamine, vitamin B3, which is riboflavin, turmeric, whey protein, and there are a lot of foods. Avocado is probably the highest content of glutathione, avocados. And then you get the magnesium with it too. Watermelon, asparagus, all the cruciferous sulfur-based vegetables, garlic, onions, things like that. So all the good foods really that, therapeutic. Just a second, is anyone else over here? Because we're going to go to, and look, I'll hang around later if anyone wants to, but I wanted to get this, one more question, sir, okay? Go ahead.
Have you had any experience with megadoses of L-arginine and L-citrulline as a chelate?
The question is, have I had any experience with large doses of L-arginine or citrulline? These are proteins, amino acids. No. But arginine can be a remarkable nutrient. Basically, it's nature's Viagra. It promotes nitric oxide, so it's great for blood pressure, circulation, things of that nature. Human growth hormone, a lot of athletes use it. It can be used very therapeutically at the right dosage. Okay, on that,
I just want to ask how you're using the cayenne.
Okay. When I have the nurses, we have a little glass of water. I throw the cayenne in. I can use it in capsules or anything like that, but I'll just drink it. If you're ever tired or fatigued, this is instant energy. It stimulates all your energy. It's a natural painkiller, circulatory stimulant.
Did you make that?
No. But I want to say one more thing on cayenne, because before we move on to this case study. The university, this is why I love this. I mean, it's my favorite herb. It's a rescue herb too. Stop a heart attack, stop a stroke, opens up all your bronchioles, dilates, sinuses. Heart attack survival, this was in the magazine Circulation. 2009, University of Cincinnati Cardiovascular Disease Research Division. You've heard of capsaicin, that's the ingredient, the therapeutic ingredient cayenne, and you go to Walgreens, you'll find it in arthritis rugs, because it's a natural painkiller. But they applied topically, capsaicin activates pro-survival pathways in the heart to protect the heart muscle from injury. Now listen to this. Cardiologist Neil Weintraub in a study found an astonishing 85% reduction in cardiac cell death when capsaicin was used. That this is the most powerful cardioprotective effect ever recorded. This to me, this is the old practitioners, I carry it around all the time. Anything's going on, throw it down your mouth quick. Take it and drink it. Throw it down someone's mouth. But I like to, my wife comes home sometimes and she's, she works at Yale Haven Hospital and a lot of the complementary programs, energy healing, music. But they beat her up sometimes there, in a nice way. They're really good to her and love her. Yeah. But I mean, it's a hospital environment. It's stressful. It's this, and she comes home and instead of vegging out for the whole night, tired, a shot of this, and you've got a whole evening. It rescues your evening. It's that fantastic. So it's a rescue herb, cayenne. So I just poured this in here. A
dropper full.
Whatever. You work your way up, 1 drop, 2 drops. I've used Mario's mother at age 90 at one time with pancreatic cancer. We used 100 drops a day and got her off morphine. Yeah. And we have the family here who will testify to that. The witness at Kathy and all, did a fantastic job. Cayenne.
Can you take too much?
I don't know what too much is for me. I use so much doses of anything. I don't know. What's too much? It's like you're cooking. Can you use too much olive oil? That's the same question. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could, but you don't. You just experiment with cayenne. The more you use, the more therapeutic it is, and the hotter cayenne is, the more therapeutic. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, ma'am.
Is it the same when you use it as a spice when you cook? Do you get the same benefits?
No, because it's not hot enough. Unless cayenne goes by heat units. So if you do the pizza, that's 5,000 heat units. You do this, it's about 40,000, 50,000, like jalapeno. You go up to habanero, it's 250,000 heat units. You go to African bird pepper, it's 500,000. Some of the Thai peppers. That's the more hotter, the more therapeutic. Definitely. Now right now I took this and my face is turning red a little bit. The energy's coming, it's flowing through, circulatory stimulant, all the blood. Now I feel like I just started within a minute, seconds. It's like immediate. Terrific.
You say you take it in the evening.
Anytime.
Would it give you a hard time going to sleep?
No, not at all. Not at all. Great before exercise too, because just think about it. When I lived in Vietnam and Thailand and India and went all these places, hot Southeast Asian climates, I used to always wonder why people had all these hot foods in hot climates. Doesn't that seem like a contradiction? No, nature allows us, the heat opens up your pores, which cools you off. Sweat cools you off. So in hot climates, hot peppers cools you down. And I wondered in Thailand, there does seems to be very little arthritis. Well, enzyme-rich foods, cayenne in all their dishes. Same in Sichuan province in China where I spent some time, a city called Chengdu. Everything is, blows you away. You can't find anything that doesn't knock you off your socks.
So that's an anti-inflammatory? That can be?
It's filled with, first of all, the color of it, it's a vitamin, cayenne is a vitamin C. Think about Tabasco sauce. Cayenne is a pepper. Christopher Columbus found it on Devil's Island on Cayenne River. That's how it got named. It was brought back to Europe. They took the heat out of it, made it paprika. It's fascinating to learn all about the hot pepper, cayenne experience. So what I'll do, I'll take cayenne capsules. You can go to the vitacost.com health food store, and they have what's called cool cayenne. Because I once used a regular cayenne capsule on my dad, and I put him on a couch for an hour and a half. He was groaning. I said, "What have you done to me?" His stomach was burning up like crazy, and he was feeling too bad to come after me. But so Cool Cayenne is a patented form. Solar Ray makes it, the company. You take that capsule with the rest of your vitamins, and you'll, just like I discovered in the ICU unit, and herbalists have known for centuries, it helps the other nutrients to absorb. It's fantastic if you take it with your nutrients. But having this around all the time, this one is John Christopher. He was Mr. Cayenne, naturopath of the early 20th century. He died in the 1950s. Fantastic. So this is the best one. Or you can go right to the edge of the woods, your health food store, and get one that's a little less, like Vitamin Shop. Or you can make your own. Anything else? Because we're going to go into, okay, one more, sir.
Well, 20 years ago, a gentleman committed suicide taking cayenne pepper. It didn't work, but it did solve his eye problem.
You know, that's a good point. Think about it. All the police departments use cayenne pepper. And it's perfectly safe. It doesn't hurt people. You can spray it all in people's face. You can blind them. There's a guy by the name of, what's his name? Dr. Schultz. And he told the story about how he was clearing people's eyesight up. Because cholesterol deposits build up on your eyes. And he said you would take, just like you have those eye things, so put a little cayenne in there and do it. He said, and then we'll look at the television set. After a while, it's going to clear. It's as if you've got a whole new TV set, a whole new window. So I try everything, by the way. I try everything. I experiment. Yeah, of course. Of course, because I know if the police can spray in the eye, it's safe. But you may go through a little bit of a bad experience. I tried it. I was blinded holding my eye for about an hour. And when I looked at the TV, I convinced myself it must be clearer to have gone through this torture. Yeah, so I had to really convince myself. I'm not sure it was true, but he claims it is. You know, the more you do it, it clears all these cholesterol deposits that build up in our eyes. Okay. All right, so we're not going to take long in the final phase of today, but I just want to give you an idea of a real case study with someone who's here. In January of this year, I got a phone call from Mario. His voice, I hadn't spoken to him in about 6 months. Hadn't heard of him. Many years ago, when I started my little, natural nutrition practice, he was one of my first clients. He brought his mother, lovely mother, and she had pancreatic cancer. We used a lot of things to help her, and towards the end, it was tough for her to be on morphine because it knocks your senses out and you can't really communicate. People know that who've been through cancer. We proposed cayenne as an alternative to morphine. Again, all the arthritis rubs to stop, over the counter, capsaicin. The more you use it, it's a tremendous painkiller. So we ended up throwing about 25 drops of this 4 times a day. Poor Catherine. She was, but and the people laughing. We went through that. What a great lady. And she got off morphine, right? Right? It was amazing to watch.
She used it twice her whole
Yeah, it was a fantastic.
The nurses were like, "Why aren't you giving it to her? She needs it."
Yeah.
She said, "No, I don't need it."
Yeah, it was great. It was a wonderful experience on therapeutic, pancreatic cancer replacing morphine. I'm not suggesting that, that you use or anything like that. I'm just giving you an anecdotal how we used it and how other practitioners have used it. Okay. So Mario called me up January, and it sounded like, and Mario, I'll talk very frankly, like he was calling me from his grave. I mean, he sounded like half alive. Bad. Gotta talk to you. I said, Mario, you don't sound yourself. And so he explained to me what was happening to him. Pain he was in, the discomfort, his general practice, the swelling in his body, the difficulty getting dressed, wife having to help him tie his shoes, trouble getting down the stairs, crawling up the stairs like a baby, unable to get out of a chair. and obviously pretty depressed over what was happening to him. GP, go on prednisone, general practitioner, who's his medical doctor, nice guy. But go to the rheumatologist, did the blood work, sedimentation rate, C-reactive protein, things like that, the physical examinations. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis and methotrexate, which is chemotherapy. So, rheumatoid arthritis, most people familiar with it? I mean, it's an autoimmune, which means your body's attacking itself, breaking down the tissues. And it has a symmetric aspect to it, which means if you cut the body in half, you're going to have both sides swollen on both hands. It could be your elbows, it could be your wrist, it could be your knees, it could be your feet. So you have both sides swelling. It's as it progresses, it can be crippling and devastating. Methotrexate itself, Mario said, I've seen that it can kill you. Wipe out your liver, respiratory system, immune system, promote anemia, and prednisone, of course. Short-term fine, but long-term we know the side effects. Vitamin D depletion, and dysregulates your blood sugar, immunosuppressive. So I said, Mario, I really can't promise you anything, but we can work on some ideas. Anytime I hear autoimmune, it's juvenile diabetes, Crohn's disease, MS, autism, asthma in children, the list goes on, rheumatoid arthritis, ulcerative colitis, all have a vitamin D deficiency relationship, some more powerful than others, very powerful. Every autoimmune illness I've come across, I found D deficiency, a little infection can set it off. What vitamin D does, so I talked to Mario about this and I said, I'm not sure, but we'll work on it. And he's going to talk about it and give you, but I wanted to, from a practitioner standpoint, I wanted to just let you visualize how I look at an autoimmune disease. And this includes autism too. Vitamin D is so, today is Vitamin D, again, Awareness Day. Vitamin D is such a powerful hormone. If testosterone makes a man and estrogen makes a woman, vitamin D makes a human. That's how crucial it is to about 15% of our genes, genetic structure it controls. Very powerful. And yet, for decades now, we've been told to avoid the sun, the relationship with the sun, hide, hibernate, watch out for skin cancer. But if you get skin cancer, it reduces your risk dramatically of an internal cancer that will really kill you, and heart disease. So, but autoimmune vitamin D controls your immune system in the sense that it strengthens it. It promotes 200 antimicrobial peptides. Think about 200 natural antibiotics in your body when you get your D levels up. It's phenomenal. But it does something really crucial. It prevents the immune system from going haywire and overreacting and then turning on itself. It's like a railroad conductor, so the train doesn't go off the tracks. Amazing. Amazing. And a lot of these autoimmune diseases, in my opinion, are either caused by women through pregnancy or D deficient, low in vitamin D, and or just people don't get enough vitamin D. They hibernate, they're not supplementing. Their doctors have told them, okay, 400 units is enough. And most of those doctors really just are not very educated on nutrition. So I asked Mario what the vitamin D level was. It was on the low normal. I just assumed Mario is not sunbathing. It's winter time. He's not sunbathing in the summer, much less the winter. And so I said, well, we need to do something immediately about vitamin D, start on 10,000 units, and we eventually rapidly went up to 30,000 units a day. I said, why play around? Let's get the D up fast. And there's something you should know about vitamin D, because a lot of people say, oh, be careful, again, toxic. In the standard of care in Europe, if any child presents with rickets, weak bones, they give them 600,000 units of vitamin D in a 12-hour period. Zero toxicity, no problem. That's the standard of care. It's 100,000 units every 2 hours over, for 600,000 units in a 12-hour period. No problem, it resolves the rickets. Children walk away, zero toxicity. Yet, you talk to American doctors, watch out, be careful, 1,000, 2,000, that's child's play. It takes 40,000 units to make 1 milligram. I repeat, and particularly for the nurses, when I tell the nurses that 40,000 units equals only 1 milligram. So when we start playing around with 1,000, which is 1/40th of a milligram, or 2,000, which is 1/20th of a milligram, this is child's play. We want to get the D up rapidly and fast. If kids can take 600,000 units in a few hours, well, I think adults can take 30,000 units a day until we get it up fast. I know people taking 50,000 units a day. Okay? Why wait? Why wait 9 months, 10 months, 12 months? I mean, the safety profile is dramatic. Dramatic. So we started off, let's get that, let's work on the immune system, regulate it, get it stronger. There could be an underlying infection too, and vitamin D might take care of that. And let's start with that. Then we had to say, okay, you've got fires inside of you. Inside of you have a lot, your body's on fire. Everything's swollen. How do we put the fire out internally? If you had to put a fire out, what would be the one plant you can think of? Aloe vera. Okay. If anyone's ever had a burn, and you put a really good quality aloe vera on, it's remarkable how fast it can stop the pain. And I just want to, I wrote this down because I make some products and I use aloe vera and I know the product very well. I make an anti-aging skincare product, which is one of the best rated in the country. It's named after my mother, Florence, I put an accent on it. But,
I can tell it's the best.
oh, thank you. Thank you. She is. Marcia. Thank you, Marcia. Marcia and her husband run one of the most successful retail boutiques in New Haven called Your Way, right across from the Yellow Arc Gallery. So she's a holistic practitioner, so thanks for being here. But there are 2 natural analgesics in aloe vera, 2 COX-2 inhibitors, if you know Celebrex. There are 2 of them like that, naturally. 3 plant sterols. Sterols are very powerful anti-inflammatories. Magnesium lactate, which inhibits the histamine release, and something called alprogen, which inhibits an enzyme that creates all this pro-inflammatory. So aloe vera has 300 biologically active compounds plus these specific medicinal ingredients in it. So I had, Marty, we're going to start drinking it. I want you to start drinking aloe vera. Let's get the flames out inside and put out the flames. And we used a particular product called Stomach Formula number 80 by Lily of the Desert. The next product I chose, MSM, organic sulfur, methylsulfonyl methane. Some of you know it. It's fantastic. I once saw Larry King on CNN many years ago with James Coburn. Remember that actor, James Coburn? Some of you? Yeah, great actor. But he disappeared for years because he had such a terrible case of rheumatoid arthritis. And his fingers started crawling like this. He went to every medical doctor. He went to every holistic practitioner, homeopath, acupuncture. Nobody could help him. But there was a physician, Stanley Jacobs, Dr. and Professor Stanley Jacobs in Oregon State University, or State Health Science University, who developed 100, 200 patents on this organic sulfur. It's used by vets all the time with animals and has been for decades. For any kind of pain, swelling. So James Coburn said, he was on CNN with Larry King, and there was the doctor, and he said, he gave me this stuff, I'd started taking 8 grams, and all my inflammation disappeared. For the first time ever, everything disappeared. I went to everybody, and every holistic person, every allopathic person, MSM was miraculous. He said, it brought my life back, and he got back involved in his Hollywood films. So I've read the books, I've read the articles, I've used MSM extensively. It's wonderful. It's organic sulfur. Sulfur is our beauty mineral too, so one of the side benefits of using it as an anti-inflammatory is your skin gets better, your nails get better, your hair becomes more lustrous, and that's the beauty of natural medicine. We're not dealing with side effects, we're dealing with side benefits. MSM is fantastic. We then started looking at other nutrients.